Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is a very special video. This is my favorite topic to talk about, and that is eyeshadow palettes. Today we're going to talk about my top 10 eyeshadow palettes that I regularly use. These are like the most used eyeshadow palettes in my collection. So if you guys are ready to see which are the eyeshadow palettes that are close to my heart, then please keep on watching. I have my 4-year-old right next to me, so if you hear like munching and crunching noises, it's him. It's not me. So let's begin. The first eyeshadow palette that I have to talk about is Break the Rules palettes from It's Belle Cosmetics. Now this is not their recent ones, which the recent one I use it all the time. That's more like summery palette. I use their shimmers the most, but I have to talk about this because this is the only eyeshadow palette in my collection which has pan going on. I have a pan in this shade, I have a pan in this shade, and I have a pan in this shade. If you guys watch it closely, you can see it, and that's how lovely this palette is. I use this constantly. I even use this constantly. Like I will be like panning these eyeshadows very, very soon. And that's how much I love this. Like I constantly, whenever I'm going for like a neutral eyeshadow palette, this is like my companion palette that I go with all the time. And that's how much I love this. I wanted to mention this and not the Cool Summer palette, not because I don't like the Cool Summer palette, because I love that one too, but I just love this baby a little bit more. This is what like made me fall in love with the It's Belle formula, and it's just stunning. If you guys do not know which palette I'm talking about, it's this one, which is the Cool Summer palette, which recently released, and this is the latest collection. These shadows are like just breathtaking, like absolutely breathtaking. I have popped into each and every shadow that is there in this palette, and I wear this constantly. Even when I'm going to like office, I've used this shade, I've used this shade, I've used this shade. You know, I dread my greens, but these greens are so beautiful. Yeah, I just love It's Belle Cosmetics. I do have a code with them. It's just Smithy Sony for 10% off. So if you are interested to buy something from It's Belle Cosmetics, I have a coupon code in the description box below. Do check it out. And if you do use it, I thank you so very much. Let's talk about another eyeshadow palette. And this was like my #1 eyeshadow palette like back in the years. And this I still constantly dip into, and without a doubt, these are like one of the best formulas that I have in my collection. And this is from Dominique Cosmetics, and it is their latte palette. And if you guys have not seen this, like the formula is absolutely stunning, like gorgeous it is. I have this in my inner and outer corners, I have this in my crease, and I have this shade in my inner corner of the eye, and that's what I have for my eyes. I constantly use this. This stays on my desk whenever I'm going to my work and I do not want to think like what eyeshadow I'm going to put. I just grab for this. Like these are all my tones. The only shade that I do not dip into so much is this blue, but rest everything I love it. Even this blue is like muted enough for me to like love. It's just that I don't use this like constantly in my everyday life. But all this, my favorite palette from Dominique Cosmetics. Like I love it. Okay, now let's talk about another eyeshadow palette that is like mini. It's not mini, it's a full size palette, but it is just like 5 shades. And this is from Natasha Denona, and this is their Natasha Denona Coral palette. There is a reason when I dip into this shade. If I do not want to dip into like multiple things in my collection for my whole face of makeup, I just dip into this because I can use this as a highlighter, inner corner highlight, brow bone highlight. I can use this in my crease as my blush, deepening up shade. Like it has so many things that you can do for an like, entire face, and which I absolutely love, like absolutely love. And this is definitely like great formula, I would say. Like mattes are my favorite in this palette, and I absolutely love it. When I have like a coral eye look in my mind, I often grab for this. Like this is definitely one among my top coral palettes in my collection. Okay, let's talk about a recent palette that landed in my collection. It's not that recent. It's been like 2 months, I think. But from the time it's landed in my collection, I just cannot stop myself not to use it. That's how much I love it. And this is Blend Money Cosmetics Primal Palette. I have no doubts that this is gonna land up in like one among the top 10 palettes in my collection for this year. Like absolutely no doubt at all, because I dip into this palette like constantly. Like if you do not have a rainbow palette, and I have mentioned this quite a few times on my channel, if you do not have a rainbow palette in your collection and these are your tones, if you like jewel tones, you absolutely need this. This is absolutely a stunning palette. The second row, complete row, is like too loud for me, but I love reaching for this. Like I often reach for that that row so much now. I'm not afraid of colors anymore. Like this palette has really made me fall in love with colors, and that's what I love about makeup. Like it's so blendable, it's so buildable, it's so lovely. The tones are like spectacular. I love it. So I would highly recommend Blend Bunny Cosmetics to you guys. If you've not tried, pick any one palette from their collection that calls out to you like the most, and you would love it. The next palette that I have to talk about is Glam Lights Chocolate Martini palette. Now, if you are into pinky browns for your normal everyday look, you absolutely would love this. And this is like one among my neutral palettes that I absolutely have fallen head over heels with. And look at the like shades. It's so dimensional. The shimmers are out of the world beautiful, and it has a pop of like purple and orange to it, which makes it a little more spectacular, which I absolutely love. So I would highly recommend this. If you were eyeing this palette, I'm going to say you'll definitely not be disappointed with it, and I absolutely love this. The next palette that I have to talk about is a special palette in my collection because it's full of shimmers and special shades, and this is the Sugar Drizzle MILF palette. Even though this is a colorful palette and it's all like special tones, and even if it has like greens, I love playing with this palette. This is so beautiful, so dimensional. Like these have some beautiful multi-chromes, duochromes. It's full of that, and I absolutely love it. I generally wear this like one shade in my crease, and this like one of the shimmers all of the eyelid, and that's the eye look. It feels like you've applied so many shades on the eyes, and that's the beauty about these multi-chromes and duochromes. It just makes me excited all over again, and I love it. Like this brings a smile on my face, and I love it. Absolutely love it. The next palette that I have to talk about, you might not see me use this in my YouTube journey, but I use this constantly every day of my life, especially when I'm going for work or if I'm like running out the earrings. That this is such a stunning palette that I use in my everyday life, and I cannot recommend enough. And this is Hindash's Viewtopsy palette, the first palette that he released, and this has like all neutral tones but such great tones. Like such great tones. You can do so much with this. You can have your blush, you can have your inner corner shade, you can have your face powder, you can have your brows, you can have so much with this. Like that pink row and the orange tone is beautiful as blushes. This can create such a good like an eyebrow effect as well as like a cool tone look, and this I often use for like deepening up my outer corners, and this is like my under eye setting powder. This for my crease, like this is like an all face palette for me. I can just travel with this and be happy with my whole face, except like obviously foundation and concealer. But this does everything. Like I love this, and the way you blend these shadows, it just blends by itself. It's absolutely effortless. Absolutely effortless. If you like pigmented eyeshadows, you would not like it. But if you like buildable eyeshadows and that you cannot find like harsh lines with, you would absolutely love it. If you are a beginner in the eyeshadow level, I would say this is absolutely stunning. I know it's a pricey palette, so wait for like a sale or something, but this is like top-notch quality. Absolutely love it. Now I'm going to talk about an eyeshadow palette which is discontinued. So I'm very sorry, but I use this constantly, and this is the Odins Eye Giant Wolves palette. All these shades are like super unique in my collection, and I constantly reach for this. Like I cannot say one shade that I do not like because I constantly use like my Odin's Eye palettes, but this definitely I use the most, and that's because how unique it is. I love this pink shade. I even love this blue shade. Obviously my favorite is this multi-chrome shade. I have a big dent going on that, and I love these greens too. It's so stunning, absolutely beautiful. I love my jewel tones and this is full of jewel tones and I absolutely love that. So this I would highly recommend. If you do have this in your collection, definitely do take it out. Now let's talk about a jewel tone eyeshadow palette which is full of shimmers and it is pretty new to me. And this is stunning, and this is from Gorman Girls and this is their ethereal palette. Again, this is an eyeshadow palette that I use with like one matte shade in my crease and one of these shades all over the eyelid, and that is absolutely stunning as an eye look altogether. Today I have this shade Astral like as the center eyelid shade, and this is so spectacular and dimensional. Absolutely stunning. Like I love this. I have like made 5 looks using this palette already on my channel. I'll link that in the icons above for you guys to check it out. But Gorman Girls is definitely doing something really good for this palette to be this special. I absolutely love it. I do have a code with Gorman Girls too. I'll link everything in the description box below for you guys. The next eyeshadow palette that I have to talk about is another discontinued eyeshadow palette, but I cannot complete this video without talking about this because I use this so much in my everyday life. And this is from Dose of Colors and it is their Friendcation palette. Again, another eyeshadow palette that I use constantly for my work life or for any glam looks. I love it, like absolutely love it. And these are like tones that are completely me. So me. I love everything in this palette. Like all these neutral tones do something so special on the eyes. I cannot even tell you, like on my tan skin tone, it looks stunning. Like this seems like such a meh shade in the pan, but on the eyes, it's such a beautiful contouring shade. It's lovely. This as an inner corner shade, it's stunning. As a blending out eyeshadow shade, it's stunning. This is all that you need for your outer corner shade. For a rosy eye look, this works beautifully. For a warm tone eye look, this, and the shimmers are spectacular. I have like hard pan going in all the shimmers, I would say, because I use it that much. It's absolutely stunning palette, I would say. I really want Dose of Colors to make like a similar color story or like in this format with the same formula and make it a permanent eyeshadow. Like I feel like people are gonna love it, like absolutely love it. This is definitely one among my favorites, I would say. And the last eyeshadow palette that I have to talk about. I am not big on pastels, but this palette is absolutely breathtaking. This made me fall in love with pastel eyeshadows, and I'm talking about my Huda Beauty's Mercury Retrograde palette. I cannot tell you guys how much I use this. I use this so much. Again, an eyeshadow palette that I wear everywhere. For my glam eye looks, for my neutral eye looks, for my office looks, I just wear this. I love this shade. I love this too. I almost love everything. This shade all over the eyelid is so pretty. This is my favorite matte that I have from the palette. Love it, like absolutely love it. This definitely is a stunning eyeshadow palette. If you can grab it from anywhere, I know this was like at a discounted price for a long time. I still hope it is at a discounted price because I grabbed it for like $33 or something like that, and this is absolutely not disappointed me. I love it, absolutely love it. And those were the eyeshadow palettes that I constantly use in my life. Those are like the most used eyeshadow palettes that I have in my collection, and the ones that I absolutely love because I have quite a few. I have around 100 palettes with me, and these are like my top 10 that I use constantly. I love using each and every palette that I mentioned today. So I really hope that this video was helpful for you guys. If you did like it, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you're notified every time that I post next. I generally upload 3 videos every single week, every Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys. See, but it's not making noise. I'll finish in 10 minutes, then you can play on the floor, okay? Ricky, are you listening to Mama?
No.
What? It's gonna get stuck? But it will not make noise. Can you just be here for like 10 minutes and play on the carpet and then play on the floor? Otherwise the cars will make noise, okay? Thank you for listening.